Hi, beloveds. Welcome to this week's craniosacral conversation. I'm Caspian. I identify as a craniosacral practitioner, which just means I'm someone who practices again and again how to listen with my fingertips to body and how body lives relationships, how body communicates. And we're all able to do this. It's what living in a body, being a body, getting to travel through life with a body means. It's just if we practice it or not, because a lot of modern culture can have numbing, overstimulation. People can become less sensitive, or they can choose to practice becoming more sensitive. And so it's a little bit of we are what we practice. This week's cranial sacral conversation is a little bit about that topic in the sense of that it's completely understandable for very sensitive people, for people to need breaks from feeling that there's so much cellular intelligence. We have so much intelligence, and that's why I want to choose my words carefully and say that I trust whatever had someone choose to numb a little bit more through possibly substances like alcohol, through possibly like eating disorders, through maybe television, phone addictions. But this video is about how when someone's trying to shift back to their gentleness, their sensitivities, their openness, their intuition, when people are trying to fill up inside body, reconnect with body, the the block sometimes to continuing to be sober, to living healthier patterns, more connective patterns, can be the emotions that flood a person after they've been strategically toning down those emotions, compartmentalizing those emotions. And then that can be a really difficult place for people to either not want to remain as open and present, not wanting to relate, not wanting to feel as much. Just it can be a very difficult point during trying to live more healthy patterns, be sober, and I just really want to name this because I've observed this in myself with some healing from eating disorder. I've like observed this in some literature about how people who've drank for a really long time have those emotional blocks sometimes because they weren't practicing with emotions in new ways, the way that people who don't drink consistently were practicing with emotions and being able to hold emotions and having that emotional intelligence. And again, that's why I was kind of maybe having a poetic beginning, fumbling with trying to find the right words, beginning of like, I want to honor that there's intelligence in every one of our cells and vibrations. So, of course, the whole of us is intelligent. And I want to name that I trust whatever the reasons were why someone made those choices. I truly believe that we make the best choices we can with the choices that we're given, which with the choices that we think are possible, which is why imagination is so important, why expanding stories and possibilities and remembering possibilities is so important, because we make the best choices with the choices that we're given or the choices that we think are possible. And so I really believe that and want to hold that gently because I understand why someone would then possibly, there are situations and reasons why someone would choose to numb out, um, to um, to have those toning down of emotions. But then, like I said, when someone then chooses to try to be more present, more embodied, more open, more relating, more sensitive again, it can feel like a slap in the face of all these emotions from the past, or just all these emotions in general. But in particular, it feels like, from my own experience with healing from an eating disorder, that it's difficult having emotions from the past come up in the present when they're not happening. But I am grateful for what that teaches me about time, and the circularity, or the weaving of time, past, present, and future woven together, possibly. I really appreciate in the Norse traditions talking about the Norns that have the weavings of time and thinking about how much we learn from weaving and all the indigenous people and traditions that have weaving traditions and what can that teach us about life and possibly time and emotions. And emotions feel like that as well, teaching us about our reality or time, that they maybe aren't linear, maybe they're happening all at once. That's sort of what recovery feels like for me and maybe possibly other people. But I want to talk about how craniosacral can be supportive for those times. Because craniosacral can be a time to practice holding emotions, feeling held while emotions are coming up, just having that time set aside to feel, to be witnessed, to be held, so that it doesn't feel like all at once. Um, and I think it's just such an important part of healing because, like I said, that can be what sends someone often back into patterns of closing off and not feeling as much, numbing, not being as present, because it can be so overwhelming when numbing for so long to suddenly feel so much, and then sometimes to suddenly feel so much in situations that don't make sense. There's that confusion of like, I'm feeling things from the past, but I can't do anything about them. I'm feeling them now. That situation where I should have spoken up, I should have offered a hand to that person, I shouldn't have said that or done that. I wish I gotten closer. I wish I had followed my heart more. It can be very, very overwhelming, confusing, and difficult to feel all of that. And then, like I said, in the present, it's different now. And for some people, it feels like time jumping, waking up. And to just have so much that you're feeling and knowing and finally can say and finally can feel and say, and then the situation's different. And so then what people normally do, I suppose, is they feel something and then they act, but it can be uniquely, specifically difficult, heartbreaking, challenging, confusing to feel something and not be able to act because that situation is not there anymore. And I really appreciate that ritual can always help us with unlearning learned helplessness. So, like I said, maybe we're being shown the gift of that time isn't the way we think it is. Maybe emotions are helping us feel that. Maybe bodies are helping us feel that and know that and remember that. So if you can maybe create a ritual, and craniosacral feels like a type of ritual, like I said, setting aside that time to feel, to move, to digest, to integrate. But I just want to name that for the people who are struggling with that specific experience of waking up again, feeling more again, being more present, but being overwhelmed by it. And I want to remind people that there's craniosacral to help hold some of that. I really love hold. Some people um, tear up and they don't always share what it's there, and maybe they don't know directly, but it can just be a time to help slowly feel things again in the present so we don't have even more to go back and grieve over or try to change. So that's why I really appreciate cranial cycle as a time to digest emotions as they're happening, meet them, understand them, integrate with them as they're happening so there's not even more to go back and keep going back and keep going back to try to feel and fix again. And so, as much as it's beautiful to be shown that time can have those relationships, past, present, and future, woven together. Um, there's also the gift of like a cranial cycle practitioner can help talk through what else can be done, like how to be brave enough to face the lesson. Yes, I wish I had done that in that situation and be able to wait. Cranial sacral, I find, really helps with waiting and being able to wait because that exact situation exactly might not happen again, but something similar might happen again. And maybe to you or to someone else, and you can share that knowledge and be that teacher. And so I want to remind people that You're not the only one going through this. There's nothing wrong with you. You are able to hold all of this. Oftentimes, when body start to show patterns, release patterns, it's because there's some strength there that's communicating that you can hold this. And so I want to remind people, like I said, that you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. Other people experience this, and just that it is so, so difficult. It's so confusing, and it can send so many people back to those relationships that were there for them, even if they're male adaptive, destructive relationships. It's understandable to grieve and to be overwhelmed by grief, especially if you can't take that action. And I just really want to encourage people to seek out craniosacral as a way that's so very gentle and slow and can hold, since it's a body-based practice, can hold all that body is feeling and releasing and remembering. And that when a person receives more regularly, that can open up those channels of communication so that messages don't get blocked anywhere. So if there's shifting happening somewhere, rest of body can help shift around that area to have it be a positive transition instead of a scary, overwhelming transition if maybe there's some blockages. And for example, let me just talk about what could actually be a physical blockage is when body moves in certain ways over and over and over again. Maybe the myofascia, the connective collagen fiber tissue, can get dry, dehydrated, especially with like alcohol use, other substance use, because myofascia loves being slippery, glidey, hydrated. If a person is using what causes inflammation, if there's that stress, if there's the dehydration, then the myofascia will get rigid and stuck, and that area can have some blockages there. And then now that is a little bit of a cut off. Or if blood vessels shrink a little bit, that's a little bit of a cutoff. There's not as much flow there, so that area can't communicate and feel as connected with all the other areas. And then it's like, is it internal, external feelings of isolation, right? And so, can we have the internal have a sense of belonging and community and connection, so then the external can be read more just as is external, not having internal emotions reflecting the internal and projecting it onto the external. There is that relationship there. I think it's really meaningful to set aside time to be able to understand, am I feeling this because of the external or the internal? Is this my internal landscape or my external landscape? And where then are the connections and bridges? What are the bridges? But the slowdown can really help, and the craniosacral sense of having whole body get reconnected again. So if a pattern shifting in one area, that one area doesn't feel alone and overwhelmed in it, because that area can feel the whole body is there to help hold that integration, to help with the transition, instead of it happening in an overwhelm, because that amount of information and emotion wasn't ever meant to be experienced in that cut off, tiny or smaller section. So I want people to get to be their expansiveness, get to be their totality, because then you can feel the amount that a total whole being life can feel, and that's lifetimes. Someone was saying, oh, I wanted to repeat this accurately, but there can be up to like 13 generations, which is like, this only like 30,000. I can't remember the numbers. Please look it up. So many lifetimes in one body and tissue. And so I just wanted to remind people of that, that we are able to experience all of that, feel all of that when all of the relationships are there, when the information can flow and not get stuck and overwhelm an area. And so practicing that internally might help a person, might free up being able to practice that externally or in story form or with head brain. You know, if body based can practice that, can you then practice that with story, head brain of like getting to experience all the timelines, all the time threads in the same way, in the same moment because of the weaving. And thinking about how more information is contained when it's like spiraled together, woven together. And that can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming, but there's so many parts of nature where that is the natural unfoldment, the wild expression. And so, again, there's nothing wrong with people. I want to remind people there's nothing wrong with you when you're feeling that, or people when they're feeling that overwhelm of feeling all the times at once because they weren't felt in the moment when they were happening. And I think all craniosacral holds can be really helpful, but I also feel like craniosacral holds with heart holds can be really helpful and supportive with that just because there is so much grieving there. And I just want to say, like, I grieve that with you of who you could have been if that had been different. And I wish you too could have like had those connections and gotten to see that side of yourself if in those moments you were fully embodied, then the world did need that. But I've been trying to ground in the sense of like letting go of making all the decisions myself as if I know everything and trusting life. The more I trust body, the more I can trust life, that maybe this is who life wanted you to be, with this knowledge, with this ability to digest all of this into something to share. And so today, Monday, April 29th, 2024, Venus is going into Taurus. Jupiter is also connecting in Taurus. So may there be support for feeling love and expansion, how we can expand into love. And so I'll just close here with that. It's a transition to talking about how we can love as a community and talk about ways to show up for each other. So as always, please show up for AYU underscore MPLS Yurts, Minneapolis Autonomous Yurts, on Instagram, Camp Nino Kasi on Instagram, Facebook, social medias, for how to support our unhoused relatives and neighbors who are right now having opportunities for traditional healing, traditional ways of living, indigenous leadership, grandmother energy, and how that is supporting both the people in the camps as well as all of our collective consciousnesses and resource sharing, resource distribution. I really love how Taurus is about resources and value. So let's redistribute that. Let's have Jupiter help with the expansion of resources and the redistributing of them. There's also so many ways to show up for ending the genocide in Palestine right now. Happening right now, 2 p.m. Central Time. If you can get over to Kaufman Memorial Union for a rally to join the UMN Divest movement, which is to have the University of Minnesota divest from Israel, any contracts, companies connected with Israel, because the way Israel is carrying out a genocide and has carried out a genocide of the indigenous Palestinian people for far too long. And so you can join at 2 p.m. today for the rally, but you can stay connected ongoing because there is an encampment, there is staying until the demands get met, so especially support is needed in the evenings if you can. But do educate yourself about how to show up in a way that is helping and supportive, especially with like sometimes it feels like sharing information is really supportive, but do follow information about how to keep people safe, because filming people can be really dangerous and incriminating for people. So let's keep each other safe. If you need to film the police and what they're doing more than the people protesting. Live videos can be really dangerous because that's a timestamp, but do follow directions, ask questions, just show up in ways where you're really grounded and what is helpful for the movement for keeping everybody safe here. So do research, but please do show up, like I said, especially in the evenings as well, when that can be more vulnerable times. There's also a press conference and rally Wednesday, May 1st, 11 a.m. at the Public Service Center, 250 S 4th Street, Minneapolis, a press conference for the Community Control of Police, CPAG. And then Palestine contingent in the May 1st protest for immigrant and workers' rights, Wednesday, May 1st, 4:45 p.m. Meet up in the Target parking lot, 2500 East Lake Street, Minneapolis. This is a day to show solidarity with getting Smith Foundry out of the neighborhood, community control of police, divest from Israel, defend women's reproductive rights, divestments or pensions from apartheid Israel, legalization for all, pass the North Star Act, fully fund educators and public schools. Then there's Palestine, Cuba, and the Fight Against U.S. Imperialism panel, Friday, May 3rd, 6 p.m. at 4200 Cedar, Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's May Day, Celebrate International Workers' Day with Freedom Road Socialist Organization. The New City Center, 3104 16th Avenue South, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Saturday, May 4th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sign making, 2 p.m. March around park at 2:30 p.m. End with a speak out prioritizing mothers and kids' voices. This is a Mother's Day, May 12th at 2 p.m. Powderhorn Park. Solidarity with Palestinian mothers, 3400 15th Avenue South. There's a film screening happening May 14th. Doors 6:30 p.m. Movie 7. Tickets $5 at the Parkway Theater. Again, May 14th. For the Al Nakba anniversary. And so there's more ways for showing up with that. You can divestments from apartheid Israel demonstration May 18th, 2 p.m. rally at Franklin Middle School, 1501 North Aldrich Avenue. March to the 4th Precinct, March for Stolen Lives at Home and in Palestine during the Nakba Week of Action. You also really want to tell the State Board of Investments to divest from Israel and any companies connected with Israel. Show up Tuesday, May 21st, 10 a.m. Minnesota Senate Building Room 1200. That's 95 University Avenue West in St. Paul, the Senate Building, May 21st. So there's so many ways to show up. There's also a lot happening, like Kopal is trying to get a community center if you want to donate funds there. We're trying to pass the North Star Act. What do you care about? It's all connected. Like I said, let's not cut off one area. Let's have a whole body showing up so it's not as overwhelming to experience. The lived experience is not too overwhelming when experienced as a whole and when embodied. So let's show up for each other. Let me see if there's anything else I know about here in Mni Sóta Makhóčhe, homelands of the Dakota people, and then later the Anishinaabe and Ho-Chunk people. Just reminders of like you can bring food to Camp Ninokasi, water, batteries. Water and batteries are always needed. Food, water, and batteries are always needed, but it's been rainy, so tarps, planks of wood or like doormats to set down since it's muddy in the area on the ground are always really helpful, but check their social media for updates. And drop off maybe like backpacks and suitcases with rolly wheels on them to prepare for any type of eviction ever. That's supportive. And so as much as there's encampments happening on university campuses that need tents, remember on-house relatives as well. It's all connected. Show up where you can. What are your gifts? Can you offer rides to people? Can you babysit for someone so they can go out? Can you bring food places to either encampments at the University of Minnesota or to our on-house neighbors? It's all connected. I'm trying to see if I'm forgetting, hopefully remembering anything else. But just thank you all for practicing together, being in this together. I hope this week is all that you need in a meaningful and nourishing way. I hope that everybody everywhere has access to all the resources and an encouragement to be, share, feel, and nourish the gifts that you are and the gifts that we are together. May today feel like your favorite song is dancing alongside you. And as always, thank you to the Cultural Wellness Center that makes these craniosacral videos possible. Check out all of their practitioners that offer free services such as sound and breath healing, Zumba, yoga. It's all wonderful. It's all movement. It's all connectivity. So thank you so much. I hope that you get to be your gifts today and get to be seen the way you want to be seen by who you want to be seen by. Thank you so much.